Applewood was a town where time seemed to move a little slower. The days were peaceful, filled with the scent of baking bread and the laughter of children playing. At the heart of Applewood was the post office. It was a small brick building with a bright red door. Inside, the air was always filled with the smell of paper and ink.
Mr. Jenkins, the postmaster, was a kind and gentle man. He knew everyone in town by name. Everyone loved Mr. Jenkins. He was a part of the fabric of Applewood.
One day, while sorting through a stack of old letters, Mr. Jenkins made a discovery. At the very bottom of the pile was a letter, yellowed with age. The ink was faded, but the address was still legible. It was addressed to a Miss Lily Bennet. Mr. Jenkins had never seen that name before. Curious, he turned the letter over and over in his hands. He felt a strange pull towards this lost letter. He knew he had to find its owner. Mr. Jenkins carefully opened the letter. The handwriting was elegant and flowing, a stark contrast to the modern typed letters he usually handled. The letter was dated decades ago. It spoke of childhood dreams, shared secrets, and the simple joys of friendship. It was a letter filled with laughter and love.
Mr. Jenkins felt a lump in his throat. This letter was more than just words on a page. It was a precious memory, lost to time.
He had to find Lily Bennet. But where would he start? He looked again at the address on the envelope. The only clue it offered was near the old oak tree. Mr. Jenkins knew that Applewood had once been surrounded by forests. There were still a few ancient oaks standing on the outskirts of town. He decided to start his search there. He set off, the letter tucked safely in his bag. Mr. Jenkins drove slowly through the quiet streets of Applewood. He passed the bakery where the aroma of fresh bread filled the air. He saw children playing in the park, their laughter carried on the breeze. He waved to Mrs. Gable, who was tending her flower garden. Applewood was a town where life was simple and sweet. But beneath the surface, Mr. Jenkins knew there were stories of love and loss, of joy and sorrow, and he felt certain that Lily Bennet's story was one of them.
As he reached the edge of town, the houses thinned out. Fields of wildflowers stretched out on either side of the road. And then he saw it. An enormous oak tree, its branches reaching towards the sky like gnarled fingers. It stood alone in a field, a silent sentinel guarding the past. Mr. Jenkins' heart quickened. He knew he had found the right place.
Mr. Jenkins parked his car and walked towards the oak tree. As he drew closer, he noticed a small cottage nestled beneath its sprawling branches. Smoke curled from its chimney. A rocking chair sat on the porch, its gentle creaking a soothing melody in the quiet air. Mr. Jenkins took a deep breath and walked towards the cottage. He knocked gently on the door. A moment later, it opened.
Can I help you, young man?
I'm looking for Lily Bennet. I believe I have something that belongs to her.
The woman's eyes widened in surprise.
I'm Lily.
Mr. Jenkins' heart soared. He had found her. Lily invited Mr. Jenkins inside. He sat down on a cozy armchair while she made him a cup of tea. He told her about the letter, how he had found it tucked away in the back corner of the post office. Lily listened intently, her eyes shining with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. When Mr. Jenkins finished his story, he carefully took the letter out of his bag and handed it to her. Lily's fingers trembled as she took the letter. She looked down at the faded ink, her name written in a hand she hadn't seen in years. Tears welled up in her eyes.
It's from my dearest friend, Mary. We were like sisters, inseparable. But then life happened. We moved away, went our separate ways. I never forgot her, though. I've always wondered what became of her.
Lily carefully opened the letter and began to read. As her eyes scanned the words, a wave of memories washed over her. She laughed softly at a shared joke, her heart aching with a bittersweet longing for a time gone by. The letter was a window into the past, a reminder of the enduring power of friendship. When she finished reading, Lily looked up at Mr. Jenkins, her eyes filled with gratitude.
Thank you. You'll never know what this means to me.
Mr. Jenkins smiled. He knew that some acts of kindness, however small, could have a profound impact on people's lives. He had given Lily a priceless gift, the gift of reconnecting with a cherished memory. As he drove away from Lily's cottage that evening, Mr. Jenkins thought about the letter and its long, circuitous journey. It had been lost for decades, yet it had finally found its way home. And in doing so, it had touched the lives of two people in a way that neither of them could have imagined.